Hey everybody, and welcome back to Teachers Talk Money. We are going to talk today about my personal debt story. Yay! So it all started when I went to college. I attended the University of Maryland, College Park, go Terps, and this was probably the best financial decision that I ever made that I didn't understand. Because I grew up in Maryland, so I was paying in-state tuition, and this was a huge game changer. A lot of students, when they're about to go to school, kind of have this like beautiful romantic idea of going somewhere far away, and I was definitely also really into that. Fortunately, something went right and I decided that doing it based on money, making my college decision in large part based on finances, was what I was going to do. Who knew? Pat on the back, past life Rachel. So I got a ton of financial aid. My family was very poor during the years that I went to school because I had, I think, one employed parent at most, and they were self-employed and not making a lot of money. And as some of you know, I'm one of 6 children. So because of my lack of financial privilege, I had the privilege of getting a lot of government assistance. So I got a ton of financial aid, and that was super helpful and something I'm really grateful for. Of course, I still had to work. I worked full-time over the summer at a daycare in my neighborhood for every summer, and I did not work a job my freshman year at school, but I started working my sophomore year, and then by junior year I had 2 jobs that I maintained until I graduated. So on top of my full-time course load, I was working usually like 20 hours a week, and then I made my summer money as well. So all of this combined to leave me with what I thought was $11,500 in debt, but we'll get to that later. Now, despite the fact that $11,500 is a crap load of money, that's only a third of the national average for my graduating class. According to the Federal Reserve, the class of 2018 had an average of $30,000 in debt. Of course, this number is rising, and it is now closer to $40,000. So again, I feel really grateful and blessed and privileged that I was able to get a lot of financial aid and end up graduating with less than that. So as I neared graduation, I started teaching myself everything I could about finances. I was extremely motivated because I wanted the financial stability that I did not always have when I was growing up. And I think, like a lot of teachers, I was very afraid that being a teacher would mean I couldn't be wealthy. But again, my main goal at the time was just to be independent and comfortable. So I self-educated myself on money, and I didn't shy away from any information. I binge watched The Financial Diet. I binge listened to Dave Ramsey podcasts. I actually started blogging about my own journey to debt freedom. This was to track my progress and keep myself motivated, and obviously I'm really glad I did that because it's led me to creating more and more content in this space, and now content that's actually focused on teacher money, which is awesome. And as I was self-educating and blogging about my journey, I started paying off my debt. I worked the summer after I got out of school, and I put a total of $1,700 of the money I had made that summer toward my student loan. I got hired in a relatively high-paying district in Maryland, which is a pretty high-paying state for teachers, although our cost of living is very high too. But I got a job where I would earn $49,000 in gross income. Then when I started getting my paychecks from my teaching job, over $1,000 per month went towards my debt. I want to stress that the only way this was possible was that I had to create and work within a budget. And I had to make some sacrifices too. Some examples briefly include lowering my cost of rent as much as possible, limiting spending on my classroom, and limiting spending on a lot of personal items as well. But I stuck to my plan, and I was debt-free by the end of March of my first year teaching, or so I thought. I lived a beautiful, lovely, debt-free lifestyle for a few months. I enjoyed treating my students, having more money to spend on myself, and creating my emergency fund. But when I was almost done building up my emergency fund and I was pumped to get started on investing, I got a letter in the mail from a loan servicer saying that my first payment was due. Yes, it turns out I had another $2,000 loan that I actually forgot about, because I guess that's how insignificant signing off on $2,000 seems when you're 17 years old and you're told it's what you're supposed to do. It makes sense that I missed it because it was my only loan from another servicer and it had a longer grace period, so I was not receiving reminders. I decided to take the money that I had built up in my emergency fund to pay off the loan that same day. So I ended up paying off $13,500 my first year teaching. And it took a lot out of me. It sometimes affected my mental health and it sometimes affected my ability to show up as the best educator I could be. But that was part of my motivation for digging myself out of this hole that I created as aggressively as I could, and I don't regret it at all. So that is my debt story. It's not going to look even remotely like most people's, because my journey in many ways is one of privilege. That I had an amazing opportunity to go to a competitive in-state school, that I was able to get a job right after college, that I work in a high-paying district, that I only support myself financially, and much, much more. That being said, I still worked my butt off and I made countless sacrifices during and after school to make it happen. And every teacher I know has the same capacity to do this. Seriously, we work in one of the most demanding professions that there is. So we know what hard work is. It just takes the courage to take care of ourselves and not just our students. The courage to find the time and the energy in our overwhelming lives to do the work that we need to do. So I hope you found some value or inspiration in my personal debt story. I'm so grateful for you for joining me on Teachers Talk Money. Please make sure that you subscribe to my channel and leave any comments below about your personal debt story or questions you have about my debt or my budget. And thank you so much. I'll see you next week.